Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto gains the true potential bloodline with Kyuub. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Naruto was in a tree. He had just finished a copy of the Forbidden Scroll using the ink replication technique. Look at all the cool techniques. So he hid High Scroll in his apartment and went to where he was supposed to meet Mizuki. He quickly learned the shadow clone technique. About an hour later and Naruto had copied everything that he thought was of use from the scroll. He stood up and shut the scroll, making sure to stuff his copy into his pants pocket. He then began to wonder whether or not his sensei would show up, when he heard someone enter the clearing, huffing from having run a long distance. "You?" said an angry voice from behind him. He quickly turned around and smiled when he saw his academy teacher Iruka. Hey Iruka-sensei, I found you," said Naruto. "Idiot, I found you," shouted Iruka. "Hey, Iruka-sensei, you can pass me now. I only had time to learn one of the techniques on the scroll, but you'll have to pass me for sure," said Naruto. Now this had Iruka confused as he's been training, no wonder he's so exhausted. "But what's he talking about graduating? Mizuki-sensei said I could pass," continued Naruto. "He said if I learned a technique from the scroll I'd pass." Iruka's eyes widened, then he started to say, "Naru," but he was quickly cut off by the sound of 6 kunai heading towards him. He quickly turned around but wasn't fast enough to dodge the projectiles. He stifled a gasp. "Mizuki," he breathed out venomously. "Why?" Mizuki simply snorted and said, "I see you found the brat for me. Congratulations. You just signed your death warrant along with the brat over there." Naruto could not believe what he was hearing. Mostly, the teacher who was always smiling at him wanted to kill him. He heard Iruka telling him to get away. "Naruto, just don't let Mizuki get his hands on the scroll. He's using you to get it for himself." Naruto made to get up and run. But before he could make a step, Mizuki took 6 shuriken from his equipment pouch and flung them at Naruto. Iruka saw the attack and pushed Naruto out of its way. "Why do you protect him?" sneered Mizuki. "After all the things that this demon did, you still stand by his side? Why do you protect a demon that killed hundreds of innocent people?" "Stop it, Mizuki," exclaimed Iruka. "You know we're not supposed to talk about this. It's forbidden for a reason," stated Iruka. He tried to stop Mizuki from telling Naruto about the demon. Mizuki, however, had no intention of stopping and continued on. For years he had wanted nothing more than to slowly kill the demon brat. He wasn't going to let the chance pass him now. "Naruto, do you know why everybody hates you? Why everybody treats you so bad, like you did something? Why nobody wants to be your friend? Of course you don't know, it's an S-class secret after all. Listen well, you little demon. 12 years ago the Yondaime didn't kill the Kyuub, instead he sealed it into a baby. And do you know who that baby was? Can you take a guess, or are you too dumb to figure it out? Please Mizuki, stop it." But the cry fell on deaf ears as he continued on. "You're the one chosen to contain the Kyuub. You're the 9-tailed demon fox." Naruto just hung his head and pretended to be scared. Mizuki, seeing his chance, took a Fuma shuriken from his back and flung it full force towards the paralyzed Naruto while screaming out, "Die!" Iruka jumped in front of the shuriken and it pierced his back. Naruto, angered, shouted, "Whatever you dish out, I'll send it back at you 1,000 times harder." Shadow clone technique. Numerous puffs of smoke later and a sea of orange was the only thing that could describe the scene before the 2 academy teachers. Before long, all that was left of Mizuki was a bloody pulp for his body. Naruto, who was completely tired from doing that last attack, then said, "Hey, Iruka-sensei, do you think I went a little overboard?" Iruka, having had little time to process all that he had seen, immediately perked up and just smiled at his favorite student. Here he thought that Naruto was a slow learner and would probably have to repeat the academy another year. But it seemed that he earned the right to be called a genin, and he would be sure to honor what Mizuki had told Naruto. "Come over here, Naruto," he said. "Close your eyes, Naruto." Naruto did as asked and closed his eyes and was about to ask what the matter was till he felt cold metal against his forehead and hearing his teacher say, "You can open them now." Naruto already had an idea of what it was but opened his eyes to look at Iruka's bare forehead just in case. "Congratulations on passing, Naruto. I expect great things from you," said the Chunin. He almost didn't have time to complete his statement before he was enveloped in a bone-crushing hug from Naruto. "Oomph," stifled Iruka as Naruto literally crushed him. "Easy there, we've got to get to the hospital and get this looked over, okay?" "Sure thing, sensei," replied Naruto. The two then began their slow trek back to the village proper, both wearing identical smiles on their faces while dragging an unconscious Mizuki and the forbidden scroll behind them. The Hokage was shocked at the recent actions, so he quickly told his Hyuga Anbu to make sure no one was outside. The Hyuga was shocked. Naruto was covered in seals. Relaying this to the Hokage, who was immediately engaged. "Naruto, there are 40 seals on you, 39 of them are severely limiting your abilities. Would you like them removed?" "What? Yes, of course." And so Naruto spent an hour getting seal after seal removed. By the end of it, he was getting used to walking. "Well, we complied a list of all the different seals and we are shocked that you were even able to function at the level you were." Seal list. Intelligence restriction, various potency, 11 attention span reduction, various potency, 4 mental function restriction, various potency, 3 strength restriction, various potency, 5. Kill switch 1 chakra control, various potency, 7 chakra restriction, 50% limiting factor, 3. Sense restriction, various potency, 50 to 75%. 5. You were running at less than a single percent of your full capability and you only had access to 12.5% of your chakra reserves. Anyways, since it is obvious that your abilities have been limited, you are going to be given a full promotion to genin. Awesome. Yo Gramps, who are in my team? With my senses and current abilities, I should be great on a tracking team. My senses are better than most Inuzuka for Kami's sake and I should be able to be the defender if we get in a tight spot, exclaimed Naruto. "Well, the Junin are coming in a few hours to select teams. Why don't you sit in?" the Hokage explained. And so we find our blonde hero in a room full of Junin. "Wait a second, I just realized something," Naruto exclaimed. "You people are all idiots. Most of these teams would never work. Kunarai would be better suited to training the Ino Shika Cho because she would be able to simulate combat situations with her genjutsu. Asuma would be better suited to training a tracker squad since he was a high-level nin and knows how to hide from pursuers. And Kakashi's team would fail in minutes because the pink banshee would limit stealth more than me. Even now before I stop wearing orange, she would also be dead weight unless someone forced her to train. Sasuke would just be a problem since he is unwilling to work with others and will harm teammates to achieve his goal of becoming strong, and until I had those seals limiting my potential removed yesterday, I would have been the worst third choice because I would have had horrible taijutsu talent, been loud and caused dissension within the ranks due to my idiotic crush on said banshee. I would suggest swap Kunarai for Asuma, and Kiba for me now that my senses have DB an improvement over the Inuzuka and an S should be able to motivate Hinata. Kiba on the other hand should be able to provide much needed taijutsu talent. And finally, you lot get a bonus cause the civilians think you are keeping the demon brat away from the precious Uchiha. And so the Hokage took his suggestions and thus the teams were passed. Naruto had a few months as the ninja would be assigned their squads after 2 months of break, to allow everyone else to relax. First thing on the menu, he had to get some new clothes, could not have Hinata-chan see in his pathetic clothes. Now that the seals were gone, he looked different enough that for a while he would not be discriminated against. So first he bought a violet long-sleeved trench coat, with black flames on the bottom and the ends of the sleeves. It reached down to mid-shin, and the collar covered half his face. There were seals inside to keep him cool. He then got a black sleeveless shirt with a hood. Both the trench coat and the shirt had a large number of pockets and even a ring of loops circling his waist to hold scrolls, a large horizontal one on the back of the coat. However, there were no pockets of loops other than the large one on the back. Then he had a pair of cargo trousers that reached mid-shin. Next, he bought a few sets of 4 strips of cloth covered in seals, with which he would wrap each limb, each hand from wrist and each leg to mid-shin, tying down the bottom of each trouser leg. The right arm contains a string or resistance seals, making it harder to move through the air. The left arm gravity seals weighing down the entire body. The left leg contained a special seal that made it more difficult to use chakra, and the right had a long string of chakra-controlled disruptors. He then created a set of seals that he placed in one of his numerous pockets that stored as much chakra as when he was full, meaning that he could quickly refill his reserves. Finally he bought a large supply of scrolls, ink, kunai, shuriken, ninja wire, 50 rolls of masking tape, 5 pairs of sunglasses, all of which have slightly glowing dark green lenses and black frames with red sealing symbols on the frames, black combat boots with metal-plated toes and metal buckles going up the front, black gloves with metal plating and a ninja wire reinforced palm. Finally, he wore his forehead protector on his right wrist. Suitably unrecognizable, he entered the library and entered the shinobi section. Using the ink replication technique, he copied down advice for strength building and chakra control. He also gets a series of books about taijutsu styles. Quickly reading through the styles, he realizes that all of them have a weakness, they are all predictable, so he begins designing his own style. The style focused on quick strikes and dodging maneuvers. Furthermore, he used quick knife hand strikes and heel thrusts. However, his main focus was on lower body movements from knee strikes to helicopter kicks. His style was created to free his hands for either kenjutsu, genjutsu or ninjutsu. The style focused on precision strikes with the hands while in motion paired with crushing blows with the legs. Each attack with the legs is designed to break bones and as such are aimed either at the middle of a bone or at the sides of joints. Each attack with the hands, be it a bunch, a palm strike or a knife hand, are aimed at weak points and pressure points aimed to create as much damage as possible. He had contacted the Hokage and had commandeered Training Ground 11 for his practiced speed, strength and flexibility. He did handstands, splits, practiced his speed at delivering each. Once he had deemed those acceptable, it took 2 weeks of 16-hour training sessions. He had clones begin to work on his style. While this was going on, he built up strength and flexibility for 10 hours and increased his speed with delivering and repeating each attack. The speed transitioning between each attack and the recovery time after more flamboyant attacks such as a helicopter kick. He also created a seal that created a film of condensed chakra invisible to the naked eye over his body. This stopped the Sharingan from stealing his taijutsu style and jutsu. It also had the unintended but very welcome ability of making his face even more concealed and the flames on his coat seemed to burn. He was running around Kahona when a man in a green spandex suit and what seemed like a clone of the man. "What a youthful child, he is up training even when we have just started. What is your name?" the man shouted. "Is it not polite to introduce oneself before asking another to introduce themselves?" Naruto quickly responded. "My name is Guy Mighto. I am the sublime green beast of Kohona. Taijutsu Master Extraordinaire, the man, now known as Guy, responded, and my name is Rock Lee. I currently have no nickname. I am training to be a taijutsu master and prove chakra is not needed to be a good shinobi," the Minimi exclaimed. "Wait, taijutsu? I am creating my own taijutsu style and would like to ask you to help me." "Yosh! What a youthful endeavor you are, Naruto-kun. But I must ask you that you wear these seals. They project a layer of chakra over the body, causing things like the Sharingan to be unable to copy your jutsu." And so Naruto gained the aid of 2 taijutsu specialists in the creation of his new style, now named the Wasp's Nest style due to its conjunction with the shadow clone technique. It seemed like a swarm of wasps coming close to the person, striking repeatedly with crushing force and precise strikes, but there were no specific katas, just random movement. Guy had begun to incorporate similar tactics into the Gakken. While still a katas-based style, he also begun to introduce single-hit katas, as they were named, where a single move would be used and the person would return to a neutral position to enter the next move, allowing more spontaneity and variance in his attacks. With the new seal, he was able to begin thoroughly destroying his rival Kakashi in their youthful challenges. Naruto now had his controlled disruption seal set to 1% control when training, allowing him to train his chakra control to new heights, and was able to do kunai balancing on all his tenketsu. His chakra levels actually surpassed Kisame, Biju without a tail, Hoshigaki, and he was able to do medical techniques. He was also as fast as Rock Lee when both were without weights, and he was coming close to surpassing him. He was trying to negotiate for the secret of opening the gates, but was getting nowhere. The first month had taken place and the people who knew how he was now were shocked at how he improved. His healing factor made it really easy for him to increase his strength and speed, quickly adapting to his taijutsu style. What other people took several months for he could do in a day with liberal application of clones and his healing factor. He even set aside clones to begin his conquest of the library. He began reading all sorts of different topics from history to ninja technique theory. He had begun writing a large scroll with each of the exercises and single-hit katas for the style and begun sealing into a storage scroll on the big scroll on his back. The style was being further developed by Naruto's clones. Unrelated though important, Naruto had been given his entire apartment block and he began remodeling and turned the whole thing into his home. He had a floor dedicated to research, study and development. Furthermore, he had an entire floor, the ground floor, which he changed into a living area. The third floor was a training floor with walls reinforced with seals to withstand punches and par with Tsunade, and had many different things from moving and stationary accuracy targets, taijutsu sparring rings to simply test beds for any jutsu he planned to use. He put up a wall surrounding his home, made it tall enough that no one would be able to climb over it, and created a thick chakra barrier around the house blocking spies. He had transformed clones buy groceries for him, and his new diet and exercise led him to grow rapidly. He actually grew from 4 inches months. It seemed that his healing factor caused him to develop at a faster rate than expected now that he had the appropriate nutrients. He did not start ninjutsu training yet, as he wanted to focus on taijutsu until the teams were put together. He focused mainly on his flexibility and speed now that he had gotten his strength to a usable level. He was currently meditating, focusing on just one of his senses, and thus improving it. He was currently on the level of an adult Inuzuka when it came to smell. Then he was struck by inspiration. He had clones smell all the different smells they could, learning how different things smelled and how specific people smelled. Then he used clones to train his tracking by hunting down a clone with one specific item while other clones carried about different items. This was done on his rooftop garden. He also had clones walk around in the dojo blindfolded so that they could navigate by sound. And thus 2 months had been completed. Naruto was in class, waiting with the rest of the students, his eyes behind the green glasses jumping from person to person, filing away random facts, looking for escape routes and for weapons. This was an exercise he had begun a short time ago. He would try and figure out different things with which to attack, table legs to erasers, even pencils could be used. He was currently in class, waiting for Iruka. Oh, and there he was, front of the class calling out names. Naruto Uzumaki. Here, the entire class turned to him. His new attire and height made him look like a different person. What, don't believe me? He jested. Well, let me explain. He began the standard excuse that he and the Hokage came up with for the general populace, a way to explain what had happened. Due to the fact that I was born on the day of the Kyuubi attack with specific birthmarks, and a healing factor, many civilians believe that I am the Kyuubi reborn. As such, I was hated by a large portion of the Kahona populace, so to make sure no drastic measures were taken against me, I was told to limit my potential and was admitted early so that I may graduate with those my own age. Now that I am ninja, I may respond to civilian attacks with full force and possibly prevent the mob beatings that I have endured over the years. Now that I have dropped the henge I have been using, now that I am a ninja, I can release my full potential. Naruto's appearance shocked a large part of the class. His story shocked them still more. But Iruka broke the tense atmosphere by continuing the attendance. Today is team assignments. The reason that we have delayed the assignments for a month was because of an event that Naruto stopped. He was, while still hiding his intelligence, tricked by Mizuki into stealing the forbidden scroll of sealing. After contacting Hokage-sama, he was given 1 kinjutsu as payment because, with his chakra reserves, only if he had chakra control on par with Tsunade would he be able to do the illusionary clone technique that we teach you. He learned the Kage Bunshin so that he may cover for this deficiency. The revelation of one of the teachers planning to defect to Orochimaru has led to a thorough interrogation and restructuring of the educational system. What do you mean he had too much chakra? He can't have more than Sasuke-kun, screamed the pink banshee. Sakura, shut up. Naruto has more chakra than all of the living Kages combined. He contains more than 50% of all the village's chakra. Sasuke has low genin reserves. Impressive for an academy student, but not even 0.1% of how much Naruto has. If he hadn't had to hold back and the teachers actually taught him things, he could easily surpass the Uchiha. Iruka answered. This shut up the entire class. Simply if had been allowed to go free, he would have learned the earth clone or water clone from the library and used that. He could have been the single youngest academy graduate in existence, and civilians like you and your parents stop him from becoming a good ninja, Iruka ranted. Iruka calmed himself and began listing out the teams. Team 7. Under Kakashi Hitaki, Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka and Hinuro Sakura. I was told to put a special note in for the Hinuro. Tone down your voice. Your screeching could cause damage to the Inuzuka heir. If you do cause any significant damage, you will be removed from the shinobi force. Anyways, Team 8. Under Asuma Sarutobi, Hinata Hyuga, Shino Abroom and Uzumaki Naruto. Team 9 is still in circulation. Team 10. Under Kunarai Yuhi, Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akamichi. Please wait for your instructors, they will arrive in an hour, finished Iruka. A short while later, Naruto and his team found themselves on Training Ground 8, in front of Sarutobi Asuma, their Junin sensei. Okay, began Asuma, I am Asuma Sarutobi, your Junin sensei. We are going to introduce ourselves. First me. I am Asuma Sarutobi, I specialize in close-range wind elemental jutsu. I like relaxing in dango. I hate work. My favorite food is dango. My hobbies are my golme. You next, princess. I am Hinata Hyuga. I can use my family's gentle fist style. I like walks in the parks. I dislike mean and fatalistic people. My hobbies are flower pressing and training. My favorite food is cinnamon buns. My goal is to unite the branch and main houses. You next, bugs. I am Shino Abroom. I like bugs. I dislike people who kill bugs. My hobbies are collecting bugs and learning more of my family's techniques. My favorite food is candy as it contains lots of sugar. My goal is to make new techniques using my bugs. Finally, you blondie, my father has been saying some strange things about you. I am Naruto Uzumaki. Since you are my teammates, I will explain my real level of skill and my history. Quickly reaching into his pocket, Naruto pulled out a sheet of paper. I was born on the day of the Kyuubi attack, and was used to seal the Kyuubi away. The fourth wanted me seen to as a hero as I was holding back the Kyuubi from attacking the village. However, the civilians see me as the Kyuubi sealed within me, so sometime over the last 12 years, 39 seals were placed on me. After the event 2 months ago, when Mizuki tricked me, I was brought to the Hokage's office, where a benevolent Hyuga Anbu in the office told the Hokage of all the seals he saw on me. After the seals were removed, I was able to think clearly. The last 2 months were spent developing an effective taijutsu style and training in that with the help of Gai Maito and his student, a set of seals to protect the style and any jutsu I use from the Sharingan, chakra control and some tracking training. With the help of shadow clones I was able to train to the level of an Inuzuka. I use my own as of yet unnamed style, though I know little ninjutsu or genjutsu as of now. I am as fast in speed as Rock Lee. I am relatively strong and I have been training my strategic mind. Okay, Asuma exclaimed, I am going to test your ability. You have to find me and retrieve these 3 bells. Begin, and then he jumped into the trees and into the forest. Naruto quickly turned to his teammates. Hinata, find him with your Byakugan, prepare your bugs and keep them silent. Once Hinata finds him, get them to slowly drain his chakra. Once his level is low enough, I will steal the bells from him. As Hinata searched for their teacher, Naruto lowered the strength of his seals slowly to nothing, and was walking and running to reacquaint himself with his speed. Hinata, finally spotting him, shouted, straight ahead 200 meters. The bugs were sent in groups and quickly latched onto him. Shino whispered, he seems not to notice the chakra loss. I will retrieve the bells and meet you here. And then Naruto leapt into motion, blurring, his chakra softened footsteps not making a single noise. A clone split off next to him. Naruto sent his clone higher, jumping from treetop to treetop, him skimming along the ground. The clone dropped down right in front of Asuma, exploding using the great clone explosion. Naruto quickly ran below Asuma, snatching the bells from under him as he was blown back by the blast, catapulting him towards the team, dropping more explosive clones on him in the process. Uzumaki airstrike, he whispered as he fell onto his next landing point. the ground cratering beneath his feet, then pushing off to reach his arboreal perch. Quickly handing off a bell to each of his teammates, he quickly sat down, waiting for the teacher to arrive. Asuma eventually dragged himself out of the forest and got in front of his team. "Well, that was fast," he groaned. "You all pass, good teamwork by the way." Deciding that it was time to face his inner demon, he sat in his garden and began meditating, quickly finding himself in his mindscape, a twisted tangle of sewer tunnels, with a red light leading from one end. Making his way quickly towards the red light, heading towards the Kyuubi. On seeing the Kyuubi, who was currently sleeping, he quickly took note of the situation. Looking over the Kyuubi and the surrounding environment, the Kyuubi awoke and immediately began releasing killing intent. "So my jailer finally visits," it rumbled. "Odd voice for a female, your body structure does not match a male, you know." Her voice changed quickly to a shocked feminine tone. "I am surprised you noticed. I have a massive fox demon within me, why would I not study foxes?" "Makes sense, and since you feared out my gender, my name is Fea. What did you want to talk about?" "Well, I wanted to make a deal. In exchange for a bloodline, I will restructure the representation of the sealed to something more comfortable, and sense the outside world. I will also allow you to take your human form and while limited to average Junin levels of chakra move around most of my mindscape. In exchange for you letting me use your Yuki, I will attempt to modify the seal to release you on my death." "What kind bloodline is this? It must be powerful if you would offer so much for this." "You are right, Fea, but the bloodline is not inherently powerful. The bloodline is in 4 parts. The first part is a healing factor. This healing factor will heal any injury and will adapt to healing damage. While it starts at only twice as fast as normal, the more dangerous injuries you sustain, the more powerful it gets, but the more powerful it gets, the more chakra it drains to heal the injuries. The second part is an affinity to all elements but not a powerful one. It needs to be trained just like any other person, however, it does provide an affinity to all elements including yin, yang, gravity and space, time elements. And the ability to merge 2 or more elements together to form more elements. The third is the ability to see chakra, which can be improved through use, however, to activate this, chakra has to be focused into the eyes. The fourth and final part is the ability to create temporary constructs from chakra. Seals formed this way will work, but one needs to train to increase the creation speed and the complexity of the design. It is also chakra heavy to use this technique but not as heavy as using yin-yang release for the same thing. Fea was confused at the number of limitations that he had put on his bloodline. Why so many limitations? Would it not be better to make it more powerful? The chance to become powerful is equal for every wielder of this bloodline, but they need to work hard to achieve the true potential, because while the potential is there, it takes blood, sweat and tears to achieve it. This will give my descendants the chance of becoming powerful but hopefully stop them from becoming too arrogant. Naruto explained, "I hope that any of my descendants should be able to understand the value of hard work." And thus the deal was struck. The Kyuubi sent a powerful burst of Yuki, though his body, slowly rewriting it. Naruto on the other hand was slowly rebuilding his mind. The center seemed thousands of miles across and was a large lightly wooded plain with all sorts of animals and plants. This was surrounded by 1,000-foot-high marble pillars and a slight overhang. He created a platform to move about quickly within the mindscape. Outside the field was a large ring of runes, organizing the different things that existed in his mindscape. His memories and his knowledge base were linked to his mental pair of sunglasses, allowing him to access to the information instantly. He even tripled backed up the information so that it would not be lost. He was very happy with the abilities he had gained for the trade, and his Ming less cluttered had helped him better process the information he received from his clones dispelling, allowing him to dispel 12,000 hours worth of memories simultaneously and only be knocked out for a day. The Kyuubi had taken to living in a medium-sized house in the center of the plains. She was given a slightly modified version of the seal, made of engraved metal plates. He could not yet rid them of the link but had incorporated a way for them to talk when he was not in his mindscape. His training from then on was mainly focused on the first part of the bloodline, bringing it up to his previous level of strength by cutting himself. It is slow progress and drained him of his chakra quickly. His goal in the short term was to be able to heal from the 8th celestial gate. He had begun simply by healing small cuts and increasing the number of them over time. Then he began training his healing to deal with blood loss, then deeper cuts, then stab wounds, then broken bones. The healing factor was slowly advancing. However, his team had been training and he had found out something. It was a lot harder to progress the healing of his chakra system, and regeneration of chakra was still more difficult. Having Hinata close off most of his tenketsu and trying to move was a unique experience. He felt quite weak and he had managed to keep himself standing after 64 of his chakra points had been sealed, but it was extremely fatiguing and he had torn up most of his muscles. However, he refused to become dependent on chakra to simply move, so he kept having Hinata close off his tenketsu. He still could not do anything but lie in the ground twitching if his tenketsu were sealed. He had given Guy and Lee 4 pairs of resistance seals on bands so that they could train their speed as a thank you for helping him with his style, which was named the Wasp's Nest due to the conjunction with the Shadow Clone technique, due to the most common attack being helicopter kicks or sweeping kicks aimed at the opponent, so that the hands are free to do hand seals or strike with precision like debris from a spinning wall of wind. Naruto, having seen a diagram of Lee's chakra system, had realized why he could not use chakra. It seemed that for some odd reason, his physical energy was unnaturally high at birth, meaning that an infusion of spiritual energy would kickstart his ability to make chakra. He had preformed the procedure and he had academy starter level reserves. Naruto was also working on his mobility and his ability to attack on the move. He began using quick strikes, jumping off vertical surfaces and flying kicks. He began studying non-elemental techniques such as genjutsu and non-elemental ninjutsu. He learned the body flicker and a few other basic techniques. Then, to celebrate becoming a ninja, he played a few pranks on the village, in particular the Hyuga clan. The entire clan had their clothes stolen and strewn around the village. Finally, all the rooms had icha books on the tables. Hinata was surprisingly not affected. The village laughed itself hoarse seeing the almighty Hyuga wrapped up in curtains picking up their clothes. Naruto was reading scrolls on elemental jutsu and was currently bashing his head into a desk. The elemental jutsu he wanted to learn were too specialized and could be copied. So he decided to learn 2 skills: the ability to manipulate an element directly and the ability to maintain constructs of an element for a period of time. He was working on the traditional 5 elements first. He could create small fireballs and throw small spheres of water. He could levitate and throw small rocks and create small gusts obel to create short arcs of electricity from his fingers at a target. Getting tired of his progress, he dispelled all his clones and created a batch of 5 groups of 3,000 clones and had them work, and the person who had progressed the most in 5 minutes would dispel, each working on their own element. The clones had enough chakra to last the night. He had awoken 10 hours later, and his clones had covered over 16 years of practice. I know. I did the math. It translates to 16.47 years. He could manipulate all 5 basic elements into whatever shape one wanted, but could not figure out how to levitate or animate them. Today he and his team were going on their first mission, a D rank but still a mission all the same. He was catching the cat Tora. The cat, the latest in a rather long list of cats, all named Tora. The 3 had just spotted Tora when suddenly the ground rumbled. An arm of earth sprung from the ground, wrapping itself around Tora. Naruto was ecstatic. His abilities to manipulate elements directly were effective, however. It seemed that he could only manipulate a small amount of the object and he could not levitate it, yet. He had seen how the day had been crushing the cat, so, morphing the hands into a cat carrier, he picked up the cat and walked to a pet shop, and subsequently walking out and proceeding to head to the Hokage Tower to hand in the missions. Upon reaching the Hokage Tower, he gave the client, Madame Shinji, a book on cat care he had gotten from the shop and Tora in a cage. Needless to say, the cat never ran away again now that it had a competent owner. He was lauded as a hero within the ninja corps, and thus Tora's reign of terror had ended. Naruto had also begun working with his space-time element, speeding up his perception of time while waiting or shifting things short distances. He had found that they were very difficult to manipulate, even harder than gravity, where you would try to make a feather fall down faster. The final and hardest of them all was yin, yang. This took an image from the mind and brought it to life. However, the sheer time and amount of chakra it took made it incredibly difficult to make anything. He could create a 1-inch squared cube after 30 minutes and almost all of his immense chakra reserves. This was going to take a long time. He was actually using his chakra sight at all times, simply to improve it, but it also had the interesting effect of making his sunglasses glow from within his hood, looking as if a pair of green eyes looked out of the darkness. Naruto could now see Tenketsu, but keeping his chakra sight on had a similar effect to his healing. The better the ability got, the more chakra it took to keep active. He personally enjoyed the mission where he had to dig a well. He shocked his team by simply jumping and kicking the ground where the well would go, creating a 50-foot deep well. Today, they were sparring. He was sparring with Asuma and Shino was sparring with Hinata. Naruto and Asuma squared off. Naruto waited until Asuma charged. Then he sprung into action, manipulating the earth around him. He dropped into the ground. A shadow clone burst out of the ground, jumping off the air using his wind manipulation, hammering a knee into his chin. Asuma blocked the knee, swinging his trench knives towards Naruto's clone. However, Naruto burst from the ground, jabbed the arm with a lighting-enhanced fist before backflipping into a fire-enhanced helicopter kick. Asuma jumps back, dodging the fiery feet of doom before swinging a wind-enhanced blade at Naruto, hoping to turn his attack back at him, but while flipping away from Asuma, out of his handstand, Naruto blocks the band of now fiery gas with a rising wall of water, creating a cloud of steam. Naruto rushed out of the cloud on a wind-enhanced step before launching himself into a one-handed handstand, and using earth manipulation to make him spin. He then manipulated fire and water using his feet, creating a vortex of steam, then springing forward with two lightning-enhanced fists. Asuma, quickly catching the hands with wind chakra-enhanced palms, was unable to block the earth chakra-reinforced strike between his legs, nearly liquefying his balls. Nothing needed to be said, Naruto won. Hinata won against Shino, which was not surprising as Shino had little skill in anything other than his bug jutsu. Naruto was quite tired from his fight. The amount of chakra it took to manipulate elements in such a way would kill normal people. Naruto was manipulating elements on a far greater scale than most people did. The next was chakra control. Naruto's was one of the hardest he could find. He would place over 3,000 senbon on the ground and keep splitting chakra strings to pick everything up and create complex patterns. He was working on this to keep his control up. Even though he had reserves too large, he could rival one of the Biju. He was currently creating a new technique, which used pure elemental manipulation called Usen no Jutsu, return fire technique. He would extend his chakra into an elemental technique, suddenly form that chakra into elemental chakra, essentially hijacking the technique, allowing him to send it back at his opponent at least twice as strong. The cost for the technique was more than the amount of chakra put into the technique. Naruto was also working on sensing chakra, of which there were three ways, using nature chakra, the chakra echolocation technique, and the seventh sense, an ability gained by focusing chakra into the skin, infusing the skin so that he would create a reactive membrane. Over time, it would become part of your nervous system, and allow you to sense chakra, similar to how a shark senses electricity. Naruto worked on the last two techniques. He had been sending out clones, while he himself had been meditating while his clones practiced the chakra echolocation. He also started studying Yuki, and had figured out what exactly it was. Yuki was chakra with extra mental energy added and compressed. He was actually creating an exercise that would eventually convert all his chakra into Yuki. However, all it really did was improve his elemental affinity and made it harder for him to die. His work on his healing factor was going well. Guy had even given him the secret to the second and third gates, and healing from those took a long time even with his healing factor. His goal was to be able to heal to full strength in 30 seconds, but it would take a few months for that. He could however heal from a Juken strike to the heart in less than 2 minutes now. He could even regenerate lost fingers. It took a week to do so, but he could. He would ready for most enemies within 1 month. The month had passed. Using his two techniques in conjunction, Naruto could sense a person up to 1,000 meters in any direction, and he could recognize chakra signatures up to 300 meters away. Naruto and his group were currently returning from a short D rank. Asuma was going to ask for more, but Naruto spoke up. Asuma-sensei, we have completed more than the requisite number of D-rank missions. Our team has progressed to the point that taking on a B rank would not be suicide. In fact, I often win our little spars. I still am taking flack for that in the bars. A freaking genin beat me. while quickly checking his wrists, 10,000 pounds of weight, and resistance seals. Why are you so strong, damn it? I train and have a ridiculously powerful healing factor. In addition to this, in exchange for making the seal more comfortable for the Kyuubi and giving it access to my senses, I have gained a bloodline, which gives me the ability to use all the different types of chakra and their sub-elements, in addition to several other features. This allows me to train hard and improve in a short amount of time. Furthermore, my abilities were limited during my academy days to reassure the civilian populace. Now that I am a ninja, I can cut loose. Naruto answered. So, mission? The Hokage asked. Yes please. The entire team quickly answered. And thus they had received a mission escorting a bridge builder to Wave Country. Bring in Tazuna, the bridge builder. Your task is to guard him until he completes his bridge. Okay, we will meet at 7 a.m. tomorrow at the front gates. Pack appropriately, Asuma commanded before disappearing in a shunshin. Naruto met up with his team, handing them each a sealing scroll, in which they sealed their gear, then placing the scrolls into their belts. The team, in addition to Tazuna, were walking towards Nami, Asuma in front, Naruto at the back with Hinata and Shino near Tazuna. The three were walking at a civilian's pace, which was extremely slow for the four shinobi. It was already nightfall, and they would be arriving in Wave the next day. Naruto and Asuma had decided to spar once more before turning in for the night. As soon as they began, Naruto went on the offensive, using a wind-enhanced step to drive a pair of lightning-enhanced fists into Asuma's stomach. Asuma quickly retaliated with a quick great breakthrough before using his trench knives to send a wind chakra-enhanced wave of energy at Naruto, who used earth chakra to push himself high into the air before pulling 2 whips of water around him, then sending them down to his opponent with devastating force. Asuma quickly rolled away from the blast before noticing a shadow clone sending a rapid series of fireballs at Asuma, who was forced to replace himself with a log. The battle stopped. The log. Amen, both fighters intoned, before spinning into action yet again. This time, Naruto used earth manipulation to levitate a string of rocks before sending them rocketing at Asuma, who cut them with wind blades, even as Naruto sent water whips at him. When they contacted him, began streaming lighting chakra. Asuma quickly unleashed a wind shield, but Naruto quickly ran towards him. Jumping into a handstand and spinning, he unleashed both wind and fire from his legs, creating a firestorm that even Asuma could not dodge at close range. Asuma was blown back, his clothes smoking before he exploded into smoke. Naruto paused for a second and sensed Asuma in the trees around him, gathering large amounts of chakra into his trench knives. As Asuma unleashed large blast of elemental energy at Naruto, crying, "Flight of the Swallow," Naruto, seeing the attack, slams his foot into the ground, sinking beneath it himself before appearing behind Asuma, knocking him out with a lighting-enhanced kick. The two were tired out and quickly retired to bed. The next day, Hinata spotted 2 bandits hiding in a puddle. Quickly notifying her teammates, she and Shino suddenly froze as 2 shinobi rose from the puddle. The 2 were in camouflage clothing with green sashes around their waist and a long brown shirt. The one on the right had a black cloak and a large metal glove on his left hand. The one on the left had a similar glove on his right hand. The 2 were connected by a chain of shuriken. The 2 tore Asuma into a bloody pile of gore. Both Shino and Hinata were frozen. However, Naruto and a clone smashed their feet into the chunins, launching them into the woods, shattering the Kaion between them. With Gozu, Naruto's clone quickly vanished, leaving Gozu and his dislocated shoulder before a shriek to the back of the head claimed him. The Naru clone carried Gozu to the team and dispelled himself. With Maizu, Naruto launched Maizu into a tree, hammering him into bark before slamming a heel into his jaw. Naruto then followed up with 2 fingers to the solar plexus, then a knee to the head. He then slammed an elbow into his groin. He then threw the demon brother over his shoulder, slamming him into the ground before curb stomping him. Naruto then hooked the demon brother onto his foot before pulling him. He then practiced his interrogation techniques. Gruesome, skip to next bolded line if uncomfortable. Naruto picked up Maizu, before inserting Senbon into specific nerve clusters. Then he electrified one. Maizu awoke, screaming, "Who was your target? The bridge builder? Good. Now who hired you? You won't make me talk." He sent fire chakra into one of the other needles. Mizu tried to scream but he was in shock due to the pain. Naruto asked again, "Who do you work for?" "Gato," he responded, "who else in on your team? I won't rat out my team." Naruto channeled water chakra. This one was stuck into a lung. His chest began to burn as if acid was poured into his windpipe. "I ask again," Naruto drawled. Zabuza, before he clamped down on a suicide pill. Naruto cut off his head, his clone doing the same for Gozu, before sealing the heads into storage scrolls. He also gathered all the equipment they had. End scene. Naruto returned, relaying the information to Asuma. The group continued to wave. Naruto had made his first kill and was sick during the trip over the water but quickly overcame the despondence that came over him due to the kill. Naruto walked behind the boat moving it with pure water and wind manipulation when nearing the coast. He then walked through the fog creating a series of fireballs for light. When they saw a sword flying at them, he created a barrier of rock stopping the blade. Zabuza appeared on the other side of a clearing when all of a sudden, a water clone appeared grabbing the blade and sending it back to Zazuba before it was stabbed with a kunai. Asuma entered a fierce taijutsu fight with Zabuza but he was quickly put on the defensive. Quickly overpowering Asuma with a blast of water to the face, he trapped Asuma in a sphere of water. Zabuza, seeing his chance, sends a dragon of water at the group. Understood the basic mechanics of Naruto steps forward. A volley of chakra strings was launched from the hood of his cloak. Then as they impacted the dragon, all the strings turned blue. Naruto under his cloak grinned. Seeing the water dragon up close, he had understood the basics of making golems, spiritual energy, that is what was needed. Then with a surprising amount of control, he manipulated the water dragon. It swirled around him and his group, coiling protectively around them before rushing towards Zabuza at astonishing speeds. Zabuza was blasted into a tree, Asuma walking towards him with his trench knives before Zabuza was struck in the throat with a pair of senbon needles, by what looked like a mist hunter nin. "Thank you for distracting him, I have been waiting for a long time to get a good shot on him." Then the hunter nin picked up Zabuza's body and left. The three then headed to Tazuna's home. Team 8 had just arrived at Tazuna's house when Naruto and Asuma stopped talking. "Team, we believe that Zabuza is still alive and the hunter nin was a fake. This is because she extracted the entire body." Asuma declared, "This may or may not be true. This is an A-ranked mission and I want you to keep on your toes." Naruto spoke, "Hinata, I will be training you this next couple of weeks. Meet me behind the house in a few hours." Naruto immediately headed to the back of the house, and began leaking chakra into the air. This method was known as the presence method, a skill that was known as the predecessor to the wind sensing method and killing intent. It would release a sense of your mind around your opponents, revealing what it is they are fighting. As his chakra leaked into the air, Olive Wave was suddenly stuck with the feeling of intelligent shades, lurking in the shadows, analyzing them before the wind picked up. Water began to shake violently, metal began to spark, rocks rattled and dry leaves and paper began to char. Naruto stopped releasing chakra before he got the report from his teammates. "Interesting aura, probably has something to do with my bloodline. Problem is that it is really powerful. Unlocking it now has my presence active 24/7. Thought Naruto, I am going to have to control it until I can sneak with it, but my aura is relatively suited for that. It should take me a week before I can control it subconsciously. I am damn lucky that this is easy to control." Naruto met Hinata behind the house, and began talking. "Hinata, why do you hold back when fighting?" "I don't want to hurt anyone," she murmured shyly. However, her stutter was gone, having spent almost 2 moinya. "You are going about it the wrong way, by not performing your best in a spar. You are weakening your partner, allowing them to be killed in combat later. By sparring at full strength you empower your teammates and are able to protect them in the future. However, your body type is not suited to the gentle fist, which is a earth style of combat. You, if I am not mistaken, have a water affinity, meaning that I will be teaching you something my clones have been working on known as the gentle river. It is a style that incorporates grace, flexibility, speed and precision into one style. It even has ranged, and more defensive qualities. The basic 5 techniques are as such. Palm strike. Direct replication from the Jukin, gentle edge. This basic ability creates a form out of chakra. An edge of sorts beginning from the pointer finger to the elbow, closing tenketsu and blocking chakra pathways by injecting chakra into them. Gentle senbon. This ability focuses small amounts of chakra into the tips of the fingers, before releasing them forward. This creates a senbon-like burst of chakra that can act like a ranged palm strike. Through practice, one can raise the number of senbon fired at once and the rate of fire. Gentle stream. This ability forms a chakra string along the same lines as a gentle edge. Gentle shredder. This ability creates a cocoon of gentle streams before all the chakra spins out, dragging though as much of the enemy as possible, knocking all within range out. I hope you will understand the uses of these techniques and begin training on them. I am going to leave you with a few clones who will teach you the specific katas of the gentle river. In the meantime, I have training to do. Over the next week, Hinata had begun progressing admirably, and while she was not Junin level yet, she could beat a fair few Chunin. Hinata could actually take down a few Naruto clones, but they were severely limited. Naruto on the other hand was improving his golems. It seemed that by studying the mechanics of the shadow clone technique, he could use a large influx of spiritual energy to give each structure a form of intelligence. It was why the rat seal did what it did. The rat or animation hand seal channeled a mix of spiritual energy-rich chakra that allowed the animation of a construct. The only animated technique that did not use the rat seal was the clone, and that used a modified half-monkey half-rat hand seal. By using the rat seal and memorizing the type of chakra released, he was able to find the specific type of chakra he had to implant into his golems to animate them. He had begun his efforts. Sand could create golems of most elements and often sparred with each type. Earth golems to test his endurance, they were often large and strong. Wind golems to test his speed, they were often in feline or humanoid shapes. Water to test his flexibility, these often took the shapes of serpents. Fire was to test his ability to dodge, they often took humanoid shapes. Lightning was to test his ability to make a target harm himself. Hinata began developing as one of the leading fighters on their team. Her ranged accuracy with her attack and throwing weapons increased as well. Her chakra reserves also grew. She could hold out firing gentle senbon for over an hour straight. Naruto was quickly progressing, increasing his gravity seals by 10% every other day. He was carrying more weight than Rock Lee. He had grown several inches as well. He was now 6 inches 3, and he had been talking with the Kyuubi. They had found that only the use of a powerful sacrifice would allow them to change the seal. He had killed one of Gato's men, but he only got the ability to seal something else into the seal, but not remove the death link. He had decided that if he could, he would save the ability for later, possibly one of the other tailed beasts. 4 tails maximum though, the card did not have power for more. Naruto's chakra levels were through the roof. He had taken to sorting colored beads with his chakra on the bottom of his hand, simply to train his chakra control. Hinata and Naruto had begun training together, but recently, Naruto had been spending time in the woods after Hinata retired, and even if you have 4 tails of chakra, fighting 4,000 copies of oneself is tiring. And as such he found himself sleeping until another day, when he was awoken by a scream. Quickly slitting the throats of the attackers, then taking their heads and equipment, Naruto rushed towards the bridge. Even from here he could sense the amount of chakra being used, manipulating the earth beneath his feet to launch him in the air before gliding towards the bridge, manipulating the air around him. The battle of the bridge had begun. Naruto quickly caught up with the rest of the team, one of his clones having accompanied them before dispelling the clone. They reached the bridge only to come face to face with Zabuza and the fake hunter Nen. Naruto spoke, "I will protect Tazuna for now. I need to see how far Hinata has progressed. Do not kill them, there is something I want them to see." And so they all sprung into action, Shino aiding Asuma by draining Zabuza's chakra and Hinata taking on the hunter Nen, who they found out was named Haku by herself. Hinata was currently fighting Haku, who was dodging her while making hand seals. "Demonic ice mirrors technique," she exclaimed. "And so we find Hinata trapped in a dome of ice mirrors. Gentle shredder." Haku saw the maelstrom of glowing white chakra strings but could not exit the mirrors in time. She was struck by the swirling mass of energy, her chakra sealed off before she could so much as move. Zabuza, stunned by the development, was knocked down by Asuma and quickly subdued. Gato then showed up. "Ha, you could not even stop these pathetic ninja," he sneered. "No matter, I was going to kill you anyways." Naruto, who had by this point walked over to Zabuza, whispered in the swordsman's ear, "They were going to betray you anyways, happy I kept you alive?" And with that, Naruto continued walking towards the corrupt businessman. He spread his arms wide, gathering a visible amount of chakra. The wind picked up, motes of fire, water, earth and lightning were formed around Naruto. Then all the bandits were lifted into the air. And then they all imploded. Wind funeral, Gato, let the elements decide your fate. And with that, the motes of energy circling Naruto sprung to life. A spark of electricity struck the heart. Water was pushed into the lungs. Spikes of earth stabbed at the body and motes of fury charred the skin slowly. Gato survived for 2 minutes. "So Zabuza, wanna join Kahona? The hunter guy would not be prosecuted and you could have a far more stable flow of money to feed to the Kiri rebellion and could be sent on missions to help," offered Naruto. "Of course, if you want we could just kill you." "I'll come with you, brat," he grumbled. The group of 6 then moved on towards Tazuna's home. Over the next few days, Naruto sent 1,000 shadow clones to speed up the creation of the bridge. Hinata had grown considerably more confident after her battle, and had taken to learning the different pressure points to hit with the gentle Senbon. Hinata had begun spending more time with Naruto. "Hinata, I know you like me, but until now I could not accept your advances. You were too weak to protect yourself from enemies I would surely make as a Jinchuruki. This is why I created the gentle river for you, so that I may help you protect yourself. So I ask you, Hinata Hyuga, would you be my girlfriend?" Naruto asked. Hinata nodded then fainted. Naruto carried her into the house, bridal style, and laid her on one of the beds. Hinata woke up several hours later, by which, Naruto had prepared a nice picnic dinner and sent off a few clones to raid Gato's mansion. The next day as Team 8, Zabuza and Haku left, the people of Wave were awoken to the sight of billions of Ryo, all bundled into boxes, in the center of town. What they did not know was that Naruto had taken 20% for himself and the pay for an S rank was passed on to Asuma for completing the mission. Haku and of Gato's wealth. As they approached the gate, Zabuza was taken to the Hokage's office and Naruto walked Hinata to the Hyuga compound. As Hinata entered the Hyuga compound, she was immediately called by Hiyashi to see him. "You will stop seeing that boy," he ordered. Hinata thought for a second, then she fired a blast of gentle Senbon into her father. Knocking out chakra flow to his arms knocked him to the floor and cut off movement to his legs with more gentle Senbon. She then pulled out a kunai and held it at her father's throat. "You fool, I am not going to listen to you when you try and separate me from the only person who has bothered making me strong," she yelled. "Only Naruto-kun understood why I was weak at the gentle fist. Not a single one of you noticed that your precious earth-based taijutsu would not work as someone as flexible as a water user. And understand this, father," she growled darkly. "You better start acting like a father or I will make sure that I get the tile of Hyuga clan head a little early." Meanwhile, in the Hokage's office the Sandeem was trying to deal with a massive migraine. "Okay, let me get this straight. You want to join Kahona because, the super-powered brat, i.e. Naruto, suggested it after destroying more than 200 bandits and Gato with pure elemental manipulation?" asked Hiruzen, "and this is completely expected. What was that attack he used on you during the beginning?" "I think he called it return fire," answered Zabuza. "He used some kind of chakra string or something to take over my water dragon and send it back at me." "This is Naruto, I should not surprised," he mumbled. "Well, due to your reasons for leaving, I think that you can be entered into Kahona after a 6-week parole. Haku, never a ninja in the first place, I give you the rank of Chunin." Naruto on the other hand was practicing with his chakra structures. Right now, they took a long time to create, were easy to destroy and would not last long. However, he found out something. When he dispelled a structure, he would gain the leftover chakra and that contact with spiritual energy-rich objects would calm living things on contact. Naruto was working hard on this portion of his powers, but he realized that it would take several weeks to get it to the point where his weapons were usable in combat. He had also taken to finding out the different element pairings. Wind plus fire equals scorch. Wind plus water equals ice. Wind plus earth equals sand. Wind plus lightning equals swift. Fire plus water equals acid. Fire plus earth equals lava. Fire plus lightning equals plasma. Earth plus water equals wood. Earth plus lightning equals crystal. Water plus lightning equals storm. He had a lot of work to do. The Chunin exams had started, and with his skill in direct elemental manipulation, the different sub-elements were easy. However, one needed to experiment to understand which elements acted similarly. Scorch acts similar to wind. When it impacts an object, it causes immense heat. Inexperienced users utilize heat directly, while more experienced users can cause flames on the level of the flames of Artemisuru, that burn as long as they have chakra for. To use this, wind chakra has to be infused into fire chakra, as it exits the body. Ice. Similar in many ways to molding earth chakra, more experienced users can simply focus a blast that can freeze things. Skilled users may travel through the ice. To use this, wind chakra has to spiral around the water chakra as it leaves the body. Sand. Similar to molding water but can impact with the strength of stone. To use this, earth chakra has to be released into a stream of wind chakra. Swift. Can control the velocity of both an object or oneself. It also increases reaction time in movement. To use this on oneself, lightning chakra is focused inwards while wind chakra is expelled out of the body. To use this on an object, focus lightning chakra to the object in the direction you want the object to move and focus wind chakra on the other end. By controlling the wind chakra, does one control the speed the object is released to. Acid. Can be wielded as water or mist. To use this, fire and water chakra are needed together, usually in the lungs, but occasionally into water that is passed along a tenketsu. Lava. Molded like water. Fire chakra is spun around earth chakra, creating a sort of cocoon. The two chakra are then kneaded together. Plasma. Molded similar to fire, users can burn anything and will survive without oxygen. However, it will not last for a very long time. It will also be very focused and burn little other than the intended area. This is done by infusing lightning chakra into fire chakra, creating a glowing white substance. Wood acts similar to earth but can act like water to an extent. However, experienced users can not only create any plant but can also leave seeds or spores that can land on the enemy to do tasks after a specified time, such as spy or kill unassumingly. With enough skill, one may drain chakra from an opponent using this. Created by infusing water into earth, crystal acts like earth but can have not only delayed effects but also the ability to put a person or other living thing into stasis. Created by forcing lightning chakra though a stream of earth chakra repeatedly. Storm. There are two ways in which this works, one with similar effects to lightning, simply more powerful and control over black clouds which can release water or ice. Different methods allow lightning to flow as water, creating a laser-like effect. Done by connecting water chakra with bands of lightning chakra. Naruto had used his understanding in the basic 5 elements to quickly learn how to use the elements themselves. However, it was difficult to understand the specific ways of mixing elements. Why was Naruto working so hard, we ask? Because Asuma had them sign up for the Chunin exams, and he wanted to be the best of the best. He also learned the hiding with camouflage technique, which he then caused several clones to use at all times, until only he could sense them. Unfortunately for the Anbu, this meant the return of the infamous prankster Naruto Uzumaki. For the next few weeks, the Anbu HQ was a rainbow of different colors. Stink bombs were detonated in the mess halls, clothes were stolen and scattered around the village. It counted as training, right? His weights were upped again. He was wearing more than 20x normal gravity and a level 30 resistance seal. He felt ready. He found himself in front of the Chunin exam room. He had also made sure to use wood manipulation to change the sign into the sign for 301. The manipulation would wear off after 4 to 5 hours. Plenty of time to disqualify the other teams. Somehow, Sasuke had passed onto the floor. He apparently decided to show off his ability to climb trees by going up the wall of the academy and entering that way. The first exam was obviously information gathering. He simply waited for someone to complete their paper and used a localized replacement to steal their paper. He then took a nap. Through the 10th question. Waking up, he yawned. Were those intimidation tactics? I was napping here, let me go back to sleep. And he then fell asleep. Naruto, having passed the test, was informed that the next test was at training ground 44. Roof hopped to that area. He, upon reaching, was quickly informed that he needed to get a specific scroll from the other teams. He simply had Hinata check which teams had the scroll they needed and he used a quick replacement with a supersized exploding tag, lit of course. 5 minutes and a body flicker later Naruto and his group appeared in the tower and completed the exam. How did you do it so fast? Localized replacement with a demo tag. I managed to get some grass team's earth scroll and blew them to Kingdom Come. Naruto answered, I'm gonna sleep now. Naruto was found on the roof for the next 3 days, releasing pillars of elemental energy into the air. The day after that, blanketing the entire forest in dense spiritual energy, calming the denizens of the forest. Apparently too many teams had passed so they had decided to hold a preliminary round for the elimination stage. Naruto Kiba. Let's get this over with. Fang over fang, Naruto flicked a finger. A stalagmite erupted from the ground. A stalagmite of pure ice. Kiba slammed into the pillar of ice. And stopped dead. Wood erupted from under Naruto, wrapping around Kiba before pulling him into the air. By his underwear. Do you forfeit? Never, I will take Hinata from you. The tendril dropped him. He was entombed in crystal. That will last for 48 hours. Winner Naruto Uzumaki, and Naruto left to train. The young one from the sand, he has my brother, but my brother has long since been made insane. The merging of the power with the raccoon dog when he was made by the sage, when the sage died, he regressed to a primal state. I guess it is time to get to work. Naruto had continued his training in the sub-elements, while he was able to make simple structures from those elements, he could not make complex shapes. He was also creating megaliths with the basic elements. His old apartment was replaced with a towering construction of marble. He himself practiced his water manipulation getting it clean, fire drying it out, wind to carry him around and lightning to carve out details. The new house, since he had owned the apartment complex before, it was strange. The house or mansion had 5 stories above ground, and many more below ground. The first underground floor was a training ground, as was the roof. The first floor was comprised of guest quarters and facilities for the guests. The second floor were his personal living quarters. The third floor was split between a large exercise room and an office for practicing fuinjutsu. The fourth floor was a large garden, with fruit trees, wheat and other grains. The fifth floor was completely empty. The Hokage had sent some pervert to teach him the Rasengan. Naruto, due to his immense chakra control and ability to see chakra, made quick work of that technique, taking less than a week to figure it out. During the sessions, he had surprisingly found out that his sexy technique was an actual transformation and not an illusion. That week he spent modifying the sexy technique into his true transformation technique. He actually found out that the original technique would not reinforce clones, but by combining it with the yin-yang release he could actually make clones that needed a killing strike to kill and returned physical experience. However, they put him into massive amounts of pain when they dispel. The fourth week was spent making variations of the Rasengan. He had even created the Rasen Kekai, which he ended up giving to Hinata. Let the invasion come, it is time to have fun. Naruto vs Sasuke, fight. Naruto let his chakra run wild, the earth shook, it started to rain, lightning struck the ground, the wind blew at gale force, he snapped his fingers and the arena was filled with floating balls of fire. The feeling of being analyzed rained from the corner of your eye, then it all stopped. Suddenly a ring of teak trees sprouted from the ground, in the middle a vine grew from the ground, wrapping around Sasuke. He was launched into the air by Naruto bursting from the earth, hanged as Rock Lee. He was kicked into a tree as Naruto propelled himself into another. Naruto jumped from tree to tree, slamming Sasuke into a tree every time he jumped. After he hit each tree, a clone seemingly jumped off the air, sending him to the roof of the arena before a final clone fropped from the ceiling, smashing him at full strength into the ground, breaking each bone in his limbs and knocking him out. Jungle Lotus. Success. Winner. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto walked out of the arena, the trees disappearing into a single white scroll which flew through the air on a chakra string, clipping a note to it, tossing it to Rock Lee, who had been eliminated by Gaara. He had his ninja career saved by Naruto, who stopped his legs from being crushed. The note read that he simply needed to put blood on the scroll to summon the ring of trees if he wanted to do the jungle lotus. He slumped into his chair. Gaara vs Dosu, fight, Sand Coffin. Sand Funereal. Winner. Gaara. Shino Abroom vs Konkuro. Konkuro forfeit. Winner Shino. Hinata Hyuga vs Shikamaru Nara. Fight. Quickly firing of a salvo of gentle senbon, Hinata begun the match. The Nara was quickly struck in most of his tenketsu. Winner Hinata. Hinata vs Shino Abroom. Fight. Hinata started off the same way as before, but was quickly replaced by a log. All the Kahona ninja suddenly stopped, clasped their hands and bowed their heads. All hail the log, amen. And then Hinata spun into a graceful, almost dance-like fighting style. 2 whips of glowing blue chakra extended from her palms and she gripped them tightly as she flowed towards her target. Moving faster than most could see, she body flickered across the field, the blue glow of her whip streaking behind her. To say the least, Shikamaru was struck down by the near supersonic chakra strain. Winner Hinata. Naruto Uzumaki vs Gaara. Fight. Gaara quickly blasted sand at his opponent. Naruto jumped into the air, a pillar of crystal rising beneath him. Then suddenly, the crystal tower reformed into a dragon, catching Naruto in his mouth before falling to the ground, reforming into a large crystal armor. However, Gaara's sand slammed into the crystal. While it could not damage the crystal, it could stop the construct from moving. Naruto, realizing this, had the crystal reform into small minion like golems and go after Gaara. Gaara was crushing crystal minion after crystal minion. Naruto was unleashing his chakra as it writhed through the world around him. The entire world came alive. Creatures of wind, earth, fire, water and lightning were summoned from the writhing blue energy. The creatures ghosted towards Gaara until out of nowhere, Naruto swung through his defenses, a purple flaming kanji symbol on each finger. Goyo Fuin, he yelled, slamming his hand into Gaara's chest. Gaara was knocked out. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. Suddenly, white feathers floated down from the roof. The invasion of the sound and sand had begun. Kai, a pulse of chakra exploded from Naruto, the descending feathers wiped out of existence by a blowing blue wall. The elemental constructs were next. Even as the sand and sound shinobi began to attack, they were struck down by arms of wind and lightning. Their techniques were blocked by massive dragons of water that swatted them away with swipes of their tails. Glowing humanoid beings of fire streaked through the armies, setting soldier after soldier alight, wind and sound techniques simply making them stronger. The summons were being taken down by hulking behemoths of earth, each over 60 feet tall. Orochimaru, who had forced the third to fight him in a barrier of some kind. Naruto, seeing his grandfather figure in trouble, quickly made his way to the barrier. Sensing that he could not get into the barrier, he had a pair of clones to get close to a corner. One produced a Rasengan and then they held it between their hands. They overloaded the Rasengan with explosion release chakra. N. This is a specialized form of chakra manipulation, similar to poison and oil. The person they picked was a large heavy-set boy, was because he did not exist after the blast. The Anbu quickly detained the remaining 3 of the Sound 4, Orochimaru was shocked by the blast, and Naruto quickly channeled Yuki into a fire state, creating a torrent of blue flames melting the body of Orochimaru, absorbing his power and knowledge. Orochimaru was dead, as seen by the curse mark boiling off Anko and the Sound 4. Naruto himself got in the thick of the action. Charge, flowing streams of water capturing hundreds of soldiers, only for them to be impaled by spike of earth. Fire swirled about the boy, then exploded outwards. Wind blasted out, boosting the fire, burning the enemies to ash. Lightning arced from the boy, striking down enemies. 5 scorching hot orbs of energy spun around the young man, passing though enemy after enemy, rendering them unable to move. Swirling sand formed a large-scale crushing effect, similar to a massive desert fly sliced through the ranks, bringing yin-yang release blades to bear. Acidic tidal waves fell from the sky. Lava erupted from the earth. A wall of pure plasma surrounded the boy and exploded outwards. Wooden roots sprung from the ground. Only for the trapped ninja to be crystallized. Storms brew overhead, releasing flowing lightning to strike the invaders with unerring precision, finishing off those who were left. All the while, Hiruzen, Enma and the Kahona forces watched in shock as a 14-year-old boy took out more than 40,000 troops and an S-rank criminal. Naruto then unleashed a massive wave of spiritual energy, pinning down the rest of the surviving shinobi. Naruto began to glow with chakra and suddenly massive walls of crystal began to rise about the village. Naruto collapsed. Naruto had been in the infirmary for 3 days after his massacre. However, he had been promoted to Special Junin, due to his lack of experience. However, when he had woken up, he had jumped out of the window after changing into his regular clothing. Moments later, the library was stuffed to the brim with clones. His now Chunin girlfriend Hinata and him were at a small bakery near Ichikaru's where Hinata and Naruto were currently on a date. Well, Hinata was scarfing down cinnamon buns sitting on Naruto's lap while Naruto was flirting with her. Hinata was red in the face. The two had then passed the afternoon walking around Konoha. Naruto had also had a clone meet the Hokage where he had retrieved his Tokubetsu Junin gear, a Chunin flak vest which he immediately put into storage. He had also begun researching for a technique, due to learning the Hirishin. The Hirishin works by creating a transference gate near the user and near the marker. The resulting effect is teleportation. Naruto did not like using a marker, so he was working on his own technique. He was using the replacement technique and the body flicker technique as a base. Replacement technique. This technique uses a special property of chakra strings. By connecting two objects infused with the same chakra when paired with the appropriate intent, will swap the objects on either end. There are signs of a space-time technique due to the lack of time needed. The body flicker technique is a high-speed technique that accelerates the body. The technique is faster than the eye can see. At just over 400 meters per second, at this speed, it is near impossible to see the person without dujutsu. People can use items around them to disguise their movement or even constructs made from their chakra. The direction of movement is decided by a chakra pathway. By melding the aspects of the two, the chakra path and the physics of chakra strings, Naruto created his technique known as the flash step. The technique used the chakra path to conduct the subatomic particles created by the use of chakra strings. He then exits the chakra path. The process is instantaneous and took remarkably little chakra. The user can teleport himself to any place he can figure out the path to. To travel a mile takes about the same 10 grand fireballs. Naruto could actually teleport from village to village, something he did often to bolster his chakra reserves. It was known as the flash step as the technique was activated by movement, as prototypes would release a flash of blue light at entry and exit points. This could actually be used in mid-air. He could teleport to places he had never been to before, but he often exited the teleport 300 meters off the ground before warping to the ground to make sure that he did not teleport into anything. Naruto had used this to transport to Suna and provide the case cage with a panic seal, a seal that would heat up and cause linked marks to glow if any of the linked marks have chakra applied. Each mark also contains a Hirishin seal. He placed the mark on his desk. He had also traveled to Kiri and ended the civil war by killing Yagura. He had then established a treaty providing materials for the rebuilding of Kiri in exchange for a trading agreement and the Sanbi. They had given them a mark as well. Zabuza had become the Kiri ambassador, and would receive his messages by seal. Naruto found himself outside of Konoha near a town known as Tanzaku Gai on a slab of earth being lifted by a few elemental golems. He himself was meditating, trying to access the energy of the world around them. Jiraiya had explained Sage Mode, and because he had the time he felt like trying to access the near unlimited energy of the world around him. He was currently meditating, his chakra forming a pale aura around him, writhing into the air surrounding him. His eyes and orifices began to glow lightly with the energy he had accumulated. It felt wild and hard to control, yet immensely powerful. He immediately felt a pair of powerful signatures heading towards him. In his hotel room, he was meditating, slowly forming an orb of the natural energy. It was far more complex than the chakra he used, almost as if it. He opened the door to find two men. Itachi, Kisame. Nice to meet you. You can go now, this is a scouting mission. He then proceeded to pick them up by their collars. Releasing his restriction seals, he threw them out of town. Quickly returning his restriction seals, he returned to his room. Hours later, as Naruto and Jiraiya were leaving the town, Itachi and Kisame dragged themselves into a room full of shaded figures. He picked us up and threw us away. The pair then keeled over in manic laughter. Naruto was being carried alongside Jiraiya, carefully manipulating the chakra in the air around him. It felt radically different from the chakra Jiraiya used in Toad Sage mode, almost more complete. He had found that the chakra in small amounts could increase strength speed and was interconnected, creating a unique form of sensing. Carefully twisting his chakra into the air, he withdrew a minuscule globlet of chakra from the air and integrated it into his chakra's circulatory system. He felt alive, more alive than he had ever felt. The world seemed to slow. He could see everything even with his eyes closed. He could sense everything before it happened. He remembered it all. He could feel his connection to the elements blast wide open. The wind whipped around him, the air grew warm, small sparks arced away from him. Water formed in mid-air, small rocks floated about him. He controlled his chakra, but his eyes, ears and mouth were glowing. However, it only lasted until the natural chakra dispersed. He grinned. He carefully and slowly gathered more and more chakra, but he found that the more he absorbed, the more his chakra began to burn him. He was ready. A quick flash step later, Naruto found himself in front of the small gambling town where they had found out Tsunade was, Tanzaku-gai. A quick chakra sensing later, they headed towards the only chakra signature high enough to be Tsunade. Tsunade Senju, you have been recalled to duty by the Hokage. We shall escort you to Konoha. You shall never make me go back. Throwing a punch towards Naruto, she attempted to get out the door. Naruto's restraints came loose. He blurred out of the way of the punch, grabbed the arm and threw the medic over his shoulder. Pathetic, Dan and Nawaki would be disappointed in your treatment of Konoha, he sighed, walking away. The next day found the four on a hill, overlooking the town, walking towards Konoha. Sasuke was just outside Konoha. He was meeting with someone who would give him the power to kill Itachi. Naruto had been given the duty to retrieve Sasuke. A kunai slash and a pommel strike later, the strange plant clone was killed and Naruto was carrying an unconscious Sasuke. He was going to make sure he was tried by the Ninja Council only. This was ninja business. Several hours later, Sasuke was put in jail for desertion, and forced to donate sperm so that several willing women may be artificially inseminated. He was then put in prison. He was working on the single-element Rasengan. A clone is working with him. Around him tens of thousands of clones worked together, working on the different single-element Rasengans. Naruto wasped chakra metal bars, carefully carving intricate details and shaping the metal. A bell-like screech was heard as a white glowing disc impacted on a rock. A white sphere exploded into existence to impact a whirl of dust escaping from it. After a minute, the sphere disappeared. The only sign of its existence, a crater 20 meters across, perfectly smooth. Wind release. Rasen Shuriken. Success. A buzzing noise was heard, then a whistling, then the noise stopped. A thud was heard. Naruto smirked, sword mode success. A flash of gold was seen. Hirishin Saber success. A clone spawned next to Naruto, a sphere made of rings of light in its hand. It ran straight into a small ice field. A roaring blast of fire exploded from the snow. Fire release. Kajirashi. Success. A hooded person walked towards a group of bandits, sneaking his way into the center of the camp. Raising his hand, a blue sphere appearing in his hand. The sphere explodes outwards in a spiraling wall of water. All the bandits hit by it joined the wall as a spray of red. Water release. Harakanzuweru. Success. Naruto was walking away from Gaara, having given him the Jinchuruki panic seals. A blast of lightning exploded from the clone, creating a rifle-like beam of lightning, existing for less than a millisecond. The bolt was less than a centimeter wide. Not a noise was heard. Lightning release. Rasenrai. Success. Time skip. Naruto stepped inside a small abandoned town in Kiri. The new Mizukage said he could level it, so why not? He placed his hands on the ground. The ground shook, the earth itself seemingly to liquefy as the buildings and structures sank into it. Earth release. Rasenasu. Success. Naruto walked onto an island, the whirlpools behind him whirling. 3 years had passed. Naruto had of course returned to spend time with Hinata every week, but now he was truly back. He had changed, his cloak now bore several more seals, and he had a double-bladed naginata on his back. He had a dozen flat double-ended kuni on his belt. Each was a Hirishin kunai and each was capable of forming a blade of any element put into it. He had even trained in tri-elements, but he did not feel bothered enough to make sub-elemental Rasengans. He was instead working on the 5-element Rasengan. He had learned from Jiraiya that his father was the fourth and quickly understood why he was not told. He had progressed monstrously in strength and chakra capacity. By increasing his restraints by 20% each time he increased a level, simply moving around or using a substitution was a significant workout. He had begun to use the true clone technique as it actually created a human who at its death would send information. However, it used yin-yang release and was quickly deemed a clan technique. Technically, if he wanted, he could be immortal, and his full body regeneration technique was testament to this. By modifying the technique to be constantly active, he could essentially freeze himself at any age, but he did not feel like it. Itachi and Kisame were walking towards town. "Capture the Nine Tails," they said. "He's just a kid," they said. "It's okay, we probably got a concussion and they dragged us out of the town. No way that kid could be that strong. Mind you, he caught us by surprise." Itachi. "Yes, oh well." They spotted the very uniquely dressed boy, no man, in one of the training grounds, meditating it seemed. The young man noticed them jumping towards him, and quickly flashed out of existence, reappearing several seconds later with a scroll. "Itachi Uchiha, you have been recalled from your duties as a spy on the terrorist organization, Atatsuki. Your next assignment is to raise 10 of the now numbering 12 members of the Uchiha clan. Do you wish your associate terminated?" "Yes." Naruto appeared above Kisame, his naginata spinning above him, before coming down with extreme prejudice on the Shark Man. However, Kisame brought his blade to intercept the strike before pushing the Tokubetsu Junin into the air. Naruto vanished before appearing behind Kisame, thrusting the blade at him. Kisame dodged quickly, again swinging Samhada at the blonde boy. Naruto, however, batted the blade away before stabbing Kisame in the genitals with a spike of rock. Pulling the Atatsuki ring off of the castrated corpse, he and the not quite missing Nin flashed into the Hokage's office. "I'll leave him to you then." And with that, Naruto vanished. 3 hours and a public announcement later, Itachi was in the Uchiha mansion preparing for 10 children sometime in the next few years. Naruto, on the other hand, had led a small group to Oto, retrieving the people used as experiments and returning them for healing, as well as gathering all the information, while Naruto expanded his collection of Atatsuki rings. He now had 3 of the 10 rings. Completely unrelated, Zabuza married Mei, adopted Haku, and began training Suigetsu as his successor as one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. The newly elected Case Cage was fighting the pair of Atatsuki agents that had come to kidnap him. Realizing that he was outmatched, he quickly began channeling chakra to the panic seal on his arm before swinging an arm of sand and launching the blonde bomber further from the village. In Kahona, the Hokage was assembling a team: Naruto, Hinata, and Kakashi. Naruto grabbed Hinata while a clone grabbed Kakashi. The trio disappeared in a flash of blue light. Gaara had just been knocked out by a small spider bomb exploding on his head. His sand armor had taken the brunt of the impact, however, he had still been knocked out. He was being carried by one of the birds when it happened. 3 ninja fell out of the sky. One stood back as the other 2 surged forward. The blonde one, wait, blonde, the 9 tails. He chased down Deidre, who was leaving in a lavender-haired Hyuga charging towards him. The Hyuga quickly sent some kind of chakra needle attack at him, which he promptly dodged. Using the puppet of the 3rd Case Cage, he sent clusters of iron sand in every conceivable form. The Hyuga, showing far too much movement and flexibility, jumped from projectile to projectile as they flew at her. Before sending a number of small clusters of those chakra needles at him, surprised, he was only able to turn, saving the only organic part of his body left. His puppet, however, did not fare too well. The Hyuga used wind chakra of some sort to shred the puppet, making it entirely unusable. Deciding that he had no time to waste, given how dangerous the 9 tails was, he immediately jumped into the puppet modeled after his own body. Then he pulled out all the stops. Secret red technique. Performance of 1,000 puppets. Hinata was soon confronted by 100 multi-limbed, which began to rain fire in the form of hundreds of poisonous darts. Quickly opening her palm and launching into a handstand, Hinata had activated a technique given to her by her boyfriend. Rasenkekai. The giant Rasengan-like shield disintegrated what precious little it could not deflect and lasted for as long as she had the chakra reserves for, and chakra-based attacks just strengthened it. It also took chakra control close to that of Tsunade of the Sannin. It was as close to the ultimate defense one was going to get short of not being where the attack was going to hit. Quickly overloading the shield with the special properties of a gentle fist strike, the shield exploded outwards, destroying any puppet it hit. While Sasori was distracted, Naruto killed him with a lance of energy from behind Rasenrai for the win. Deidara on the other hand was running like a little girl from Naruto. Naruto was almost carelessly vaporizing the bombs thrown at him with powerful explosion release beams. Gaara had just awoken and had joined the attack. Deidara was crushed by a giant sand fist bump between the two Jinchuruki. They carried the mangled carcasses of the two S-ranked shinobi back to Suna. Naruto was also making it a habit to collect the reins. The Kyuubi had told him that there were 10 reins and they were needed for some special sealing, so he began collecting them to slow down the Atatsuki. He even reppa so that Shukaku was not so annoying. It turns out that when the sage died, Shukaku fell deeply into drugs and had been high on crack cocaine. Fortunately, being stuck in a seal had forced him to give up the stuff. Naruto crested over a ridge and finally sighted his target, the giant three-tailed turtle known as the Sanbi. The turtle, spotting him, immediately began attacking. Naruto, jumping off of platforms of wind, climbed far above the Sanbi before focusing with all his might. Below him a massive seal formed. Even though each kanji symbol was smaller than the toenail of his smallest nail, the entire structure was more than 50 meters across. Raining bursts of chakra into the massive seal structure before blasting the double-spiraled Uzumaki spiral in the center with pure physical and spiritual energy. The seal began spinning hypnotically before thousands of thin pilot lights beamed down from the seal. The Sanbi's expression could be stated in 2 words: oh shit. And with that, a massive rainbow-like energy blast powered with the Kyuubi's chakra sucked the Sanbi into the seal. Now in the seal were 2 full-tailed beasts. In preparation for this, Naruto had been pumping the Kyuubi full of spiritual energy, and the Kyuubi somehow regained the yin half of her soul from the Shinigami. Apparently she traded a massive sphere of spiritual energy for it. Surprisingly, the separation had a unique effect. Being separated for so long, each was trying to regenerate to its original size. This had caused the Kyuubi to double its power. He also found a prison block with the soul of Sasori and Orochimaru in there. He just did not know why. On the way to Kumo, he saw some Atatsuki Ahents fighting the 2-tailed Jinchuruki. So he promptly killed the weird string guy, Kyuubi. Pointed out he was added to the cell block. The other guy just would not die, so he decided to do something. Grabbing the idiot's head, he flashed to a large clearing before using a part of the dead demon-consuming seal to summon the Shinigami. Hi, what do you want? Ma, clam down. This idiot won't die, so I was going to sacrifice him to you. Though could you do me a favor in exchange? What's the favor? The odd human was interesting. Could you remove the bit that links the demon in the seal to me from my seal so that the Kyuubi and Sanbi could be released on death? Okay. Done. Just a question. A few of the guys I've been killing have been appearing in my mindscape. Do you know why? Oh, if you kill anyone who cheated death or otherwise angered me, and you kill them, you get to keep them. You will be able to pass on because Kekai Genkai was given to you, and you will eventually die naturally anyways. You basically super-powered the old Uzumaki bloodline. Me and my sister gave your clan. Thanks, sir. What was the old bloodline? And what effect does it have because of my new one? I am a girl. Oh, sorry. Anyways, the bloodline was a really powerful healing factor and a longer lease on life, and it had a second stage that activated the Rinnegan. The Kyuubi's bloodline overrode the Rinnegan portion and made it activate at birth. You are now the first ever owner of a god-demon collaboration bloodline. Eating the head of the Jashinist priest, the death goddess vanished. Reappearing near where he left, he picked the rings off of the 2 corpses and walked with the girl, Yugito Ni, to Kumo. Soon after meeting with he had secured an alliance with Kahona. Nad had provided panic seals for the 2 Jinchuruki. He sent a message via a small elemental bird to Iwa to allow him to meet the 2 Jinchuruki they had. He also headed off to Taki. Apparently the Jinchuruki was not treated well, and he made sure to take her back to Kahona, but not before setting guardians around the hero's water in exchange. Iwa had surprisingly allowed him to provide seals for Han and Roshi. The six tails had died at some point and the slug had not reformed. Conan had spotted Naruto on his journey around the elemental nations and attacked him on hope to capture him. After firing a steady stream of paper which was destroyed by some sort of flaming bird, she began to release more lethal attacks which combusted as they approached the meditating blonde. Meditating in peace, the blown Jinchuruki was woken up by the sound to his flaming sentinel setting some paper techniques on fire. More lethal techniques began flying towards him. Setting them alight with short bursts of scorch release, Naruto disappeared into thin air before dropping out of the sky, accelerating himself with gravity manipulation before bringing his foot down, covered in plasma. The paper lady was split in twain and he picked up her rein. The two demons within him pointed out that she appeared within the prison thing. Well, that was quick, that's 7 of the 10 rings, he thought to himself. Seemingly stepping into the air, he vanished at speeds faster than anyone could see. He stopped in front of a man blocking his way to Kahona. I am Pain, you shall die. You are an Uzumaki who unlocked the secondary portion of your bloodline. The requirements for that are kinda iffy though, and it seems that you only partially activated it. Judging by the fact that you can hardly move. What? Yep, I see the chakra trails between you and your pets. Did you know that all the summons are tied to the actual Rinnegan wielder and the link that sustains them lead to you? My body is earth, my blood water in the wind, I am but a whisper. Powered by the heat of 1,000 flames brought to life by nature's light. Between my hands the world writhes, twisting beneath my eyes. All that is in my sight is mine with which to fight. And with the strange activation words of the ancient Uzumaki technique, the world bowed its head to the hooded young man. With a swirl of fire for 400 meters in any direction, the world was now controlled by the man. All the summons disappeared. All the 7 people were lined up before a cavalcade of ninja brought them down with a variety of jutsu. Naruto collected the ring and warped to the other end of his field before dropping the technique and dropping to one knee. No, that takes way too much. Against someone else they could dodge the attack and I would nearly die of chakra exhaustion. He warped onto his bed in his building and fell asleep. Oh. Naruto looked at the army of white people and the last 2 Atsuki agents in front of them. Hinata ran toward the head plant thing, firing gentle senbon at it. Madara on the other hand was killed surprisingly easily when Naruto appeared behind him and cut his body in 2 faster than he could react. He noticed that 2 souls had entered his prison because of that. Zetsu died from a close-range gentle shredder. He apparently did not have a soul. And with that, Naruto and Hinata launched into the fight, and became whirling storms of mass destruction. The army was defeated in mere minutes. Naruto and Hinata at the end retired back home and were made elite Junin for their contribution. A few days later, all the paperwork from Sound had been sorted though, and the Kahona Council and the team that had captured Sound gathered. Danzo, you are hereby sentenced to death for aiding a wanted criminal, Sarutobi intoned, and for going against direct orders from the Hokage. Furthermore, evidence clearly shows that you caused the death of the Uchiha clan. Before he could even blink, his head slid off his neck and he died. His bandages were removed, resulting in the sight of his horrendous modifications to his body. Naruto and Hinata married the next day. Hinata had been given the sleeping bird seal to prevent her children from being born with the Byakugan. The group lived a long and happy life, in which they eventually saw the creation of Elemental Country, a single large city that held every shinobi in the center of the continent. Naruto had become the first ever Genso Kage and had even set about areas in which each of the tailed beasts could live. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.